Okay, so there's a huge knocking noise in the engine right now. It was worse than before. It's about like 10 times as loud. Either the shift rod broke inside or there's a valve that bent or something of that sort. But first things first, we're gonna take this apart and inspect the intake shift rod. I know that was an issue earlier, so the best bet is to check the easy stuff first before you dive into the harder stuff. I got one on order, and for the shift rod alone at the dealership is $180 plus tax and everything. And then the bushings that go on each side are $45 a piece. So 45 there and then 45 on this side. So I didn't buy that because that's way too expensive. But for the shift rod that has these bushings on it, this is a 2002, but it uses the older style shift rod for the intake, so it's going to have the smaller bushings on it, and that's very hard to come by. So I had to go to the dealership and order it. So let's just take it apart and see if anything's broke. Okay, so to see underneath the cover, you're going to take out these TORX. They're all the way around, as you can see. And we're using the T30 TORX hood. And then we just take them off, and then this whole cover will pop up. And then you'll see some TORX facing this way and then facing this way, that hold the intake shift rod. So let's get that off and I'll show you what
okay, so what you do is you take off that cap. There's going to be the same TORX, the T30s, 2 here and then 2 right there. And then I already pulled this off, so let's see. If you pull this away like that, what you're going to see on the inside of the end cap is this green bushing in there, and then you got a O-ring right here on top, and then you got that orange one. The orange one goes in here, so you just pull this off, put that in there. It's just like a rubber hose. That's all it is. But to get this off of this area right here, this little tab right here, so that's where this goes into that, and you just get some needle nose, pinch down on this little tab, and it'll slide off. And then on this end, once you take out the 2 TORX, basically what you have is you have the bushing, or it's like a hose. But they charge 45 bucks for these things, so it's not worth buying. But you got that goes in there, and this whole thing slides in and out. So you put this in there. You don't want to lose any of this stuff, so make sure it's out of the way. And the noise that you hear in the plenum is all that. So you can see it flexing a lot. So as you can see, it's on that side. It goes all the way through. So you pull it out, and as you can see, it's making a lot of noise. And like I was saying, the older version, which is this one, it has these plastic spacers in here that take up the gap in the plenum, so that way it could rotate like this inside, allowing airflow to regulate as it twists based on this vacuum that this thing produces. So whatever vacuum you get from there, this pushes down right there on the plunger, and it adjusts this side. One thing you can notice right off the bat is they ran bigger bushings, and they don't have the bushings on the other ones. This was a crappy design by default, because these bushings are so small that they just wore out and cracked, well, or flat spotted. The only difference I seen besides the bushing size on these center ones, and that they don't have bushings on the in-between crevices, is this one has a chamfer on it, giving the illusion that it's a little bit larger, but it's not. It's the same width. This side, however, is a little bit bigger if you look right here compared to the new one, but their overall length is the same, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. Here is the new part number for this versus the old one. The dealer did ask for my VIN number, only because he needed to make sure that he gave me the right part. To me, if this doesn't work out, I'm going to do a whole intake rod delete and see if that works. Basically what people have done is take out this whole rod and leave it out, and then plug the ends of, let me go show you real quick. They plug the ends of these. So basically what they do is take out the bushings, because you don't want to lose that in your intake, and they just JB weld the holes on this side, and there's a cap that goes on here, and they JB weld that, and then also they put a plug on that tube that goes right here, so they plug that. And they say you lose low end power, only because I guess this intake shift rod regulates your low end power as the air circulates through from the air box and comes all the way through to your plenum, and it regulates how much air gets thrown down at lower RPMs. As far as horsepower is concerned, I'm not concerned about that. I just want this thing to run. So if I hear the knocking noise again, it's probably because this has hogged out, because the intake shift rod, that was the older one, was vibrating so much that it could have hogged out the cylinders, the cylinder bore in the end right here. So this may not be concentric anymore to the intake shift rod. So if that's the case, we're going to do a delete, and hopefully that works. If not, then it could be something internal, like valves or lifters. But do the easiest stuff first, try to get that taken care of, and if it still persists, then start diving into the motor part itself. But you could hear and feel the knocking in this area, and I don't really want to buy a new one of these, because that's another couple $100, and the intake shift rod for that thing already is like $200 after taxes. So remember, when you're let's get it installed and see what happens. The long end of the two faces out, so this shorter one goes in, and basically you just slide it all the way through, and it's a snug fit, so hopefully this fixes everything. Oh yeah, and that's a really good fit. The vibration is only because the bushings and the shift rod have to rotate between itself. So once it's fixed, the bushings are fixed onto this plenum, the shift rod rotates freely in there.
I struggle to fly now. Whoa. It says a scream inside, but we are cut out. We hold on so tight, but I don't wanna die. No, I don't wanna die. I don't wanna die. Yeah. I don't care if I sing on key. I find myself in my melodies. I sing with love, I sing with me. I shout it out like a bird set free. No, I don't care if I sing off key. I found myself in my melodies. I sing with love. Sing to me, I'll shout it out like a bird set free.
the plugs in first. Get everything in. I'm not gonna tighten anything down yet besides that shift rod, only because I want to make sure that this thing isn't gonna have any other issues. So it doesn't matter where the wires are, just make sure that they go in the right spots in your distributor cap. So everything's on
really fast, and then I'm gonna start it and see what happens.
Well, we know that's not the intake shift rod, so yeah, it's something else. It's probably a valve. So it's the worst solution that you could have.
You know where the fuck you are? You in the jungle, baby! Wake up!